we go.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's all good. How are you doing? It was a long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's
Yeah.
great to be able to catch up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Well, with that, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Oh, it's always my pleasure.
Oh, same here. It's always great to be able to talk to you, and it's great to be able to talk about some brand new music coming out here with Twilight Force. Easily an album that I think everybody needs in 2023 right now. Just something to be able to put a big smile on your face after all of the grimness that we've dealt with over the last few years. We just need something that just you can kick back, relax, and enjoy from start to finish. And that's what this album is from start to finish.
I'm glad you think so. I agree. That's what we've always been trying to put a smile on people's faces, but like you said, I think this is a time to rejoice when the world is like coming back to some sort of normalcy. And yeah, it feels really good to be able to put this out now, and especially after 3 years of basically a performance hiatus, and just because Dawn of the Dragon Star didn't we couldn't give it the support and the touring that it deserved, and it just kind of like fell um in the somewhere out of memory. But now, yeah, it feels great to be able to finally do this, get on tour, and uh, yeah, super happy with it. And it also, I mean, the silver lining was that we had a little bit extra time to actually write an album in throughout these 3 years. So because we basically at the time Dawn of Dragon Star was released, we basically started writing this album right away. So it's been 3 years in development basically. So,
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that you were able to have more time with this too, because it really feels like with this album that, just like so much thought and effort went into it too. And like the more that I listen to it, the more that I can hear these little details and things that go into it where you can tell like it really needed that extra finesse to be able to make sure everything was going to be going in the right direction. And sometimes that just comes from a little extra time, and I think that was a good thing that came with it.
yeah, and I feel also that we this time around it was probably the least stressful process. We've always had like time to do what we set out to do, and we've had clear goals in mind in terms of what kind of sound we were after. But with the at the heart of Wintervale, I feel we managed to plan it out even better than before, and we had time to like go back and redo things that needed to be redone, and give it just sleep on it for a little bit, and then revisit and fix what needed to be fixed. So sorry. So yeah, I'm super happy just with how it turned out, and obviously all Twilight Force albums really has there's a lot of detail and a lot of work, maybe way too much work that goes into. Sometimes we joke about, it would be nice to just play some AC/DC rock and roll and just press record and make an album in a week. But but that's not what we were about, and that's not what we like doing. So we made our own bed here. We have to just but it's a lot of fun. It's a great process to go through. It just takes a lot of patience and like attention to detail.
Oh, for sure. And it again, like I was talking about, like the more I listen to it, the more that I hear those details going into it. And you can also just tell from like the track length on this album too. I mean, the fact that you got like such epics on this album as well too, like two songs over 10 minutes, which it's just
Sorry,
so
sorry
cool
about
to,
that.
well, I was gonna say, like, I'm a huge fan of Epic, so I love the fact that, it's just like you were able to show that off twice on this album, and three times if you want to count the orchestral version as well too. It's so cool to be able to see like whether you're doing like a really fast, straight ahead 3 minute song, or you're able to expand it into a 10-minute long song. It's just like there's a lot of good variety on this album, which is cool to see.
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad you say that. I feel like the album is more of a roller coaster than our previous ones have been. Like you said, we have the couple of short, straight up power metal classics, obviously with a little, like the Twilight Force sprinkled in there. But yeah, we figured it's kind of a deliberate choice that we have that variety, and so that the people who love I mean, I personally like to do those long epics because it gives you the opportunity to tell like a story in a different way, and both musically and lyrically also. And so that was there are always challenges obviously with that, because it's easier to just make a, oh, here's a verse, bridge, chorus, and solo, and that's repeat till end. But it's more interesting and fun to me to write something that can, with a little more movement and storytelling throughout the song. So yeah, I'm happy we managed to like squeeze. I feel like there is a natural progression throughout the album. So you get those, a couple of more normal normal songs. Weird to say, but and those long epics, and hopefully, and you can also tell by the way they're written that they're written slightly differently, because like you have the Last Crystal Bearers, for example, which was written with the, like, it started out on the orchestra basically. Usually what we write, we do start with a piano sound. That's usually how we start writing music. But in the case of, for example, Twilight Force, or yeah, then it's kind of obvious that it's more guitar oriented, and you have like more, it's like a riffage going on, uh, and then you build stuff around that. But generally, it's a piano. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have the Last Crystal Bearer, which is more just written straight up for a symphonic orchestra, and then you build around that instead. So there are just different angles of attacking a or tackling a song. So hopefully it'll shine through. It gives a little variety, I feel like, to how it's done. And with all the previous albums we have made, I feel like we have we didn't have to do a lot of trial and error this time, because with just past experiences, you sort of intuitively know that this idea is not going to work, this is going to work. So a lot of things can just be thrown out the window without even having to try them out, because it's it's not going to work. But then sometimes you do crazy stupid stuff, like in Sunlight Night, where you put in a little Caribbean island music break, which just happened to work out. Don't ask me how, it just why not, just why not, more is more.
That part in particular just put like such a huge smile on my face, because the first time that I heard it, I was not expecting that at all. And then just when it kicks right into it, I just got like such a good laugh and giggle out of it too.
I
It
don't think
was
we expected it either. It just happened. I mean, it sort of there was we had a point like putting that in there, because it sort of relates to the song, and in terms of the knight going out to get return the sunlight to the villagers. And so there was a connection. Like, it was not like completely out of the blue. It would have been more weird if it was a song about a winter storm or something. So it's not completely out of the blue, but almost.
Oh yeah, and the more that you listen to it, the more that you get familiar with the lyrics and everything that's going on, like everything does start to come together. And I love that. And like the last Crystal Bearer, I mean, I love the fact that you're able to have something so expansive going on there too, not just musically, but just being able to have these different characters that are showing up, and
Mm.
just really being able to tell like this full-fledged story. And
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I feel like on this album also we have really emphasized the storytelling aspect of our that's kind of like taking a little backseat in the past. It's always been stories. I mean, every song has been a story from the Twilight Kingdoms, the high fantasy world that we have um, placed our music in. And but they might have been slightly hard to interpret, and it might have been a lot of like metaphors, and you have to read in between the lines to understand the storyline sometimes. And that's one way of writing lyrics, but I feel like this time around we figured let's be a little more, on the nose with things. Not then that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel like it's easier to follow the stories from there's a beginning, middle, and an end to the stories, and you can sort of place them in the Twilight Kingdoms in the world, so the world building becomes a little more tangible than it has been in the past. So that's been something we worked really hard with because otherwise it's easy when you write power metal lyrics. You can't just throw what are the classics night might fight light rhymes on the wall. So I'm sure there is a night and might somewhere, but we tried to actually be a little more creative and a little more clear in what the stories are. And for like you mentioned, the last Crystal Bear, for example, is a good example of that because it really tells the story um, that you can follow. And I know that a lot of people will just stream the music off of Spotify or whatever, just press play. But I hope that as many people as possible will actually sit with the lyrics in the booklet and read through what they're hearing, because that will, I think, and I hope, add a little bit of a more meaning and dimension to the music. Also, for the Last Crystal Bear, I mean that's the story of my character Blackwald, and how I'm kicked out of the Arcane Tribunal for practicing necromancy, which is not allowed in the Twilight Kingdoms. So I get kicked out and have to go out into the world, and that's where I come upon the prophecy of the Twilight Force. And we even towards the end of the song there is a a brief introduction, like a sound bite for every member of Twilight Force, and like a little fighting game introduction for everyone. So and that's how we come together as Twilight Force, and that's how the song. So it's a nice like wrapping up the story, because the first song of the album is Twilight Force, which also tells the story of Twilight Force and what we are. And then you have the last song, which also wraps it up nicely by establishing who Twilight Force is and who we are and what we do, but through the perspective of from the perspective of Blackwald's history. So, and it just happened. It wasn't. It wasn't like I figured, oh, I got to write a song about myself. that's, that's not what I was thinking. It just so happened that when the music came together and the song was there, and when it grew, I realized that this is. It's a little more. It's probably one of the gloomier songs we ever written. It's a little more. It's not as happy, so that kind of naturally felt like this is clearly the story of Blackwald and a misunderstood warlock. uh, so more so than a wood elf or something. So it kind of made absolute sense to do that, and especially how the song was written with all these almost musical theater parts in places that. So yeah, that was that. I don't even know if we had a question. I was just talking.
Well, actually, I love that, just being able to go like back and forth
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
and
I
just being able
agree.
to learn more about that. And I was gonna say, it's just like considering the type of music that, especially over the last few years that you've been making outside of Twilight Force, it makes sense to be able to show yourself in a more darker light, because you've put out some really killer stuff over the last few years that has like that dark feeling
Oh,
behind it. So it's
oh
it's
yeah. I
cool
mean,
to
you
be able
mean
to
with
introduce that into Twilight Force a bit more.
yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, Twilight Force is still we absolutely want people to smile and feel like you want to go on an adventure and not slay a dragon, because dragons are nice, but you want to ride on the back of a dragon. Uh, so yeah, I don't I feel like it's a balance act. You can't writing gloomier songs, for example, doesn't necessarily have to be slower or like tuned down guitars and like mid tempo, whatever. It's still like pretty triumphant, but it's more closer to the I don't know, the Bridge of Khazad Dûm more so than the Shire theme, so to speak. So you can still have that sense of adventure and glory, but in a just a little slightly different tonal language, I guess.
Oh, for sure. And again, that's what makes me keep going back to the album is that variety that's going on, and just being able to hear all these great musical motifs that are going on, uh, that the characters, the stories, everything that's going on, and of course, like I said in the beginning, just being able to have that great smile on my face from start to finish when I listen to it. And you guys just nail that out of the park every single time, but it feels a little more special this time around. Again,
Okay.
just like with everything that we've been through and just being able to put out an album like this, realize that you can still be happy in life. You can still be able to hear all these great fantastical tales
Mm.
that are going on in the Twilight Force realms, and just being able to enjoy music. And I just imagine that when the live shows are happening and going to be continuing to happen this year and forward, that it's just going to be such a fun time to be able to go out there and be able to play these songs off this album and the previous album as well
Mm.
too, and be able to give everything the recognition they deserve.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. There has been these past 3 years. It's been a lot of reality for everyone. What the reality came crashing down, and that's why in this case I feel also that the escapism of or escapism of being able to just immerse yourself into something else. I hope that people will enjoy that and find some joy and yeah in yeah going someplace else from like playing a video game or watching a movie or something. Just immerse yourself into something that is not a pandemic or inflation. So yeah, the only good inflation is the inflation in the number of dragons. That's what we need, more dragons.
Absolutely. So thinking about that as well too. I mean, obviously with all the plans going forward, and of course the album coming out next week through Nuclear
Mhm.
Blast. What is the plan going forward? Like, what's going to be happening after the release of the album?
Well, we need to survive the tour first and foremost. That'll be that's a challenge in and of itself. No, since we haven't toured now, and I realized 4 or 5 years, so it's sort of being reborn, trial by fire here. So it'll be no, but we're very excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun, obviously. But so after the tour we have well, we're going to Japan, sometimes this spring, and then we have a bunch of summer festivals. I'm not entirely sure which ones are announced or and not, so I can't really speak to that. But there are a few, and I think there are more to follow. So we have a I think we're back in business, and I feel like this album also I really from what I've seen people seem to be enjoying at least the 2 singles that are out, and I hope that they will continue to, enjoy the album as a whole. And, just being able to finally get out there and promote this properly and give it the attention and love that it deserves, from my perspective. We pour our heart and souls into things for such a long time, and you wanna, give it your everything. So that feels really good. My I haven't besides live stuff. I have some sort of plan to expand the world building a little bit during this year, because I feel like the albums that we have, all the songs, like I said, that take place in the Twilight Kingdoms, but it's also kind of loose and up to interpretation. So there's no like no really like tangible coherent timeline or places or stuff like that. So I want to try to expand on that to actually go a little bit more in depth on the lore and the history and people and places in the Twilight Kingdom. So that's a kind of a actually uh big quest and endeavor to start figuring that out, because it's all been like simmering in the back of my head for many years. You just really haven't had the time. So I feel like that's something that I'm gonna work. And there are plans, some pretty cool plans that we'll see. We can announce in not too long. So yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. Besides all the touring and shows.
Oh, that's so great to hear, and I'm glad to see those plans uh, are gonna be going forward, and I'm very excited to see everything that does get announced, and, being able to tie everything together as
Mm.
well too. I'm very excited to see how you're gonna be, doing that and in what form that's gonna be. That's gonna be so cool to see that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you said it. I hope, because I feel like it's important, because the type of music that we play and the albums that we have like nuggets of stories and interesting things that we can actually just bring together. It just needs a lot of time to flesh it out and put it into print. So I feel like it's time to start doing that, to give a little bit more meaning to. So I don't want the Twilight Kingdoms to just be a peripheral. Oh, they have this fantasy universe that they're singing about. Like, I want that to be kind of an integral part of the music, and like you have you have a script for a movie, or you have the soundtrack to a movie. Like, it's all like a uh, trifecta of components that need to fuse into a whole big picture. So obviously, music is the music is our the top of the pyramid, and then you want to build stuff around it. So I'm gonna try to do that in the coming year. That's my 22. That's my New Year's resolution for myself.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, it is so important because, it's just like you want everything to be cohesive and you want to be able to go
Mm,
back to these previous albums and see how it connects to the newest album. And,
yeah,
just like there's so many things that can tie together, and things that you can appreciate from the back catalog to now. And just
yeah,
being able to tie all that together in some way, shape, or form to make it all make sense. Just it's for especially for the diehard Twilight Force fans like myself, just being able to go back and appreciate everything that's going along with
yeah.
it is just going to be a great way to do that.
And then all the very patient fan readers are gonna find all the plot holes, and it's like, but wait, how did that doesn't work? That dragon didn't exist in this age.
A wizard did it.
Or yes, yeah, that's the answer for everything. It's all do not
Uh,
question the book of time.
exactly. Oh, that's awesome.
Mm.
One last question before I let you go, and it's just like again, I love everything that you have accomplished so far with Twilight
Thank
Force,
you,
but I
thank
also
you.
love what you do outside of Twilight Force. Is there anything else that's going to be like a going forward outside of Twilight Force on your end?
I mean, it's always there. I will absolutely. Well, I have to. I'm contractually bound to make more, but I also want to. So yes, for sure, there will be more stuff, both Urfärd and Aegis, for sure. I mean, the last whatever, at least year, has been, ever since, I guess, the release of the Urfärd album, and even before, last winter, I guess. Um, has been basically Twilight Force 24/7. So it just, everything has its chapter. And but yes, absolutely, there will be more. There, I need to address the little more, the more like you said, gloomy sides of myself also. But yeah, so I am not sure what's next up, if it's black metal or dark ambient. We'll see which takes precedence. What do you
Oh.
suggest?
Whatever feels best to you. I mean, like, if
Alright,
anything, just like a, whatever feels most natural, I would
yeah,
just say,
yeah,
it's just like, I mean, that's what I always gravitate towards is, just like what feels right at the time. I mean, obviously obligations and contracts and stuff like that
yeah,
is very important, but, just like, if it feels right to you, go for it. And that's what's going to make me excited.
yeah, that's, I'm happy to hear that. It'll be something. I just have to, you have to find the right emotional state for things. which is usually not a problem. It just depends on how many candles do you light, and that'll put you in there.
Oh, definitely. But until then, until you gotta revisit that side of yourself, I'm glad to see this positive, happy side with Twilight Force coming through, being able to show off a deeper meaning of Twilight Force, especially when you listen through the entire album and you're able to get this more appreciation for everyone involved, the storytelling that's going on, and of course, everything that'll be coming in the future as well with festival shows and touring and being able to write up more of the cohesive side of the Twilight Force story and just being able to appreciate all of that. And it's been awesome to be able to catch up with you again and be able to talk about some
Likewise.
music. Whether we're talking black metal, whether we're talking power metal, whether we're talking ambient music. I mean, there's so much to be able to appreciate with what you can do and the talents that you have. And it's always
Thank
great to be
you.
able to talk to you about all of it.
Thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate it. Likewise, it's always great. I guess it won't take. I don't know when we spoke last, but it can't have been that long ago. Was it a year or something?
Uh, I
Or
think it
last
was
summer
for
maybe.
I think it was for ages. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, until next time. There will be stuff out soon-ish.
Oh, yeah, awesome. I mean, anytime that you got something to promote, I obviously love being able to talk to you and be able to promote everything that you do. So yeah, anytime you got something, I'm here to be able to help you
that
out.
that's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
oh, not a problem. And
Uh,
again, it's been great to be able to talk to you. Of course, the new album from Twilight Force coming out next Friday through Nuclear Blast. Easily one of the most fun albums that you're going to hear in 2023. And I hope everyone listening to this is going to be able to check it out and enjoy. And one last time, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. Always great to be able to talk to you. And I
uh,
hope you have a great rest of the day.
yeah, you too. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah,
All
take
right,
care.
take care. Bye bye.
Have a great one.
You too.
Cheers.